If you were to pull up San Diego on a map, you'd see what you expect. Beaches, freeways, suburbs, and neighborhoods. But when you look closer, the map begins to tell a different story. Some streets curve along the path of rivers that no longer flow. Some neighborhoods exist only because of wars, migrations, the post-war booms, and some communities were literally reshaped by bridges and freeways. San Diego's map is a story of a land that was reshaped. Reshaped by bridges and freeways and neighborhoods that grew out of ambition, struggle, and opportunity. From the ancient villages along the river valleys and Alonzo Horton's downtown expansion by the bay, to the post-war suburbs of Clairemont and Mira Mesa, each layer of the map reveals how this city was built, lost, then rebuilt again. Welcome to Voyager. I'm Armando, and today we're decoding the story of San Diego's map. And by the end of this journey, you'll never look at San Diego, its neighborhoods, and its map the same way again. Let's get into it. San Diego's earliest map was shaped by the land and its contours. The Kumeyaay have lived here for at least 10,000 years, shaping the earliest grid through villages, seasonal camps, and trail networks, spending winters in sheltered inland valleys and summers along the coast. These patterns were passed from one generation to the next, just like a map, connecting food sources, sacred sites, and trading routes across a vast territory. The San Diego River shaped this landscape, flooding its banks and carving new paths. Each time it moved, it reshaped where people could live, farm, and travel, influencing where villages emerged and which trails became the main passages. In 1769, Spain planted its flag on a hill overlooking the San Diego River, establishing a military fort called the Presidio. This marked the first permanent European settlement in what is now California. Soldiers led by Gaspar de Portola stood watch while Father Junipero Serra raised a cross and founded Mission SanDiego de Alcala, aiming to convert the Kumeyaay and anchor Spain's foothold in Alta California. Gradually, settlers moved down from the fortified hill to its base, where a looser community began to take shape. This became Old Town, with a plaza at its heart and adobe homes scattered across its edges. By the 1820s, it was a modest but growing hub where soldiers, priests, traders, and families carved out a life on the frontier. The plazas saw fiestas, proclamations, and sometimes violence. When Mexico declared independence from Spain in 1821, mission lands were secularized beginning in the 1830s, and vast ranchos were granted to Californio families. These ranchos stretched across valleys and mesas, creating an economy built on cattle and hides. Life revolved around cattle roundups, branding, and trade with ships anchored in the bay. At this time, San Diego was a frontier crossroads, setting the stage for the transformation that would come with the American flag. In 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo transferred San Diego to the United States, ushering in a new vision for the city a few miles south along the bay. In 1867, Alonzo Horton, a Connecticut-born entrepreneur, bought about 960 acres of waterfront land for just under $300. Horton recognized the value of the deep water access and room for a modern grid of streets. He marketed his new town as the city's destiny, and within a generation, Old Town had faded as Horton's addition became the center of San Diego. San Diego's waterfront was once a patchwork of shallow mudflats that forced cargo to be ferried ashore in small boats. And the solution came in the form of a long wooden pier stretching into the deep water, transforming the bay into a lifeline of trade and migration. Just a short way from Horton's elegant blocks rose the Stingaree district, a rough patch of saloons, gambling dens, and brothels. Its name came from the sting inflicted upon unsuspecting sailors drawn to the scams and schemes. And by the 1880s, madams like Ida Bailey became infamous running establishments that blurred the line between hospitality and vice. The Stingaree thrived until the early 1900s, when public health campaigns and reformers pushed for its demolition, eventually erasing dozens of blocks. Meanwhile, the coastline was being reinvented. In 1888, the Hotel del Coronado opened its doors, a grand wooden palace by the sea that attracted presidents, royalty, and Hollywood stars. Its red turrets became as iconic as the bay itself. And around the same time, Ocean Beach was laid out as a seaside resort, leaving behind a bohemian community that endures to this day. La Jolla emerged as both a seaside retreat and then later a center of learning and research at UC SanDiego. During this era, the map became a canvas where visionaries, opportunists, and dreamers redesigned San Diego's future. If you're enjoying the video, please give the video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Now back to San Diego's maps. In the early 1900s, San Diego began presenting itself to the world as a modern city. And nothing symbolized that more than the grand expositions held in Balboa Park. The Panama, California Exposition transformed the park into a showcase of Spanish colonial revival architecture, introducing the Cabrillo Bridge, California Tower, and a new civic identity. The Santa Fe Railroad Depot opened in 1915, linking San Diego to the rest of the country. Civic leaders believed San Diego could thrive as the first U.S. port of call after the opening of the Panama Canal. And the gamble worked. Millions came, and the city's name spread far beyond its borders. But San Diego's optimism was not without its storms. In 1916, a devastating flood tore through Mission Valley after a controversial rainmaker scheme by Charles Hatfield, a self-styled rainmaker hired by the city, and whose work backfired spectacularly. The San Diego River overwhelmed bridges, farms, and homes. In response, river control became a civic priority, reshaping the valley into the channel we now know today. A decade later, Lindbergh Field opened in 1928. Named for Charles Lindbergh after his Spirit of St. Louis was built in San Diego. The airport staked a claim in the city's future, connecting San Diego to the skies, just like the Navy anchored it to the sea. The U.S. military then turned San Diego Bay into a stronghold of industry and defense. The Navy established its presence with bases at North Island and later 32nd Street, while the Marines set down roots at what would become the Marine Corps Recruit Depot. Alongside the battleships came neighborhoods shaped by a new era of transportation. Streetcars extended lines outward to suburbs like North Park, Kensington, and Hillcrest. These streetcar suburbs blended modest homes, corner shops, and walkable streets, each with their own distinct character. After World War II, San Diego transformed almost overnight. Quiet mesas and farmland became the new frontier of post-war suburban growth. Mission Bay, once a tidal marshland, was dredged and reshaped beginning in the 1940s and continuing into the 1950s as an aquatic park, part recreation and part tourist attraction, designed to position San Diego as a coastal metropolis. Central to this new suburban vision was Clairemont, the city's first large-scale planned community. Built in the early 1950s, Clairemont offered ranch-style homes with curving streets, driveways, and shopping centers, a suburb within the city. It became the model for mid-century living, a blueprint later replicated in communities as San Diego expanded north and east. Families filled these neighborhoods, drawn by affordable housing and the promise of the good life, with suburbs linked together by the automobile. Shelter Island and Harbor Island were created from dredged bay floor material in the mid-20th century, transforming mudflats into sleek stretches lined with marinas, hotels, and restaurants. Built for both locals and tourists, they turned San Diego's waterfront into a playground, with newly made land, reshaping the city's map. But the freeways that made this boom possible had a cost. Interstate 5 and Interstate 805 cut straight through communities, including Barrio Logan, Little Italy, and Logan Heights. Families lost homes, businesses vanished, and walkable neighborhoods were divided by highways. South of downtown, families established Barrio Logan, drawn by waterfront jobs and affordable housing. It became one of the city's most vibrant barrios, even as it bore the brunt of industrial expansion and later freeway construction. The construction of the Coronado Bridge in 1969 displaced hundreds of families, leaving vacant land beneath its pillars. And when that land, promised for community use, was instead slated for a highway patrol station, residents rebelled, and in 1970 they occupied the land, sparking a 12-day standoff that led to the creation of Chicano Park. Artists quickly covered the bridge's supports with murals into one of cultural pride and resistance. Suburbs continued to spread. Mira Mesa was carved out of chaparral in the 1970s, built to house Navy and Marine families, while Tierra Santa emerged as a planned island in the hills. Poway, once farmland and dairies, reinvented itself as a bedroom community, calling itself the city in the country. North County towns such as Escondido, Carlsbad, and Oceanside expanded as well, fueled by military bases, industry, and the lure of affordable land. This was San Diego's mid-century era, a city riding a wave of post-war prosperity, reshaping the map once again. By the 1980s, Little Italy reinvented itself from a fading immigrant enclave into one of the city's most vibrant cultural hubs. The Saturday market, art galleries, and trattorias now fill streets once dominated by nets and canneries, and the neighborhood's identity has survived through reinvention. Downtown, the transformation was even more dramatic. By the late 1970s, much of the Gaslamp Quarter was a neglected area filled with pawn shops and adult theaters. Redevelopment in the 1980s and 90s brought renewal. Old brick warehouses were restored, Victorian facades revived, and a nightlife district began to flourish. The biggest turning point arrived with the East Village revival and the opening of Petco Park in 2004. That ballpark became a home for the Padres and an anchor for downtown's rebirth, attracting restaurants, condos, and crowds back to the city's core. San Diego's economic map was being redrawn inland. UC San Diego grew into a world-class research university and inspired a wave of biotech companies that clustered in Torrey Pines and Sorrento Valley. Kearny Mesa, once dominated by defense contractors, developed into a hub of tech firms and a diverse dining scene reflecting the city's changing character. These new hubs positioned San Diego as a center for science, technology, culture, and innovation. In the 21st century, San Diego's map is still in motion, redrawn with every passing decade. The city's skyline has risen while the San Diego trolley system has expanded, linking UC San Diego to the border and redefining regional transit. The Blue Line's extension, completed in 2021, connects communities from the border at San Ysidro north through downtown to UTC and UC San Diego, all part of a larger vision to improve connections in a city long shaped by cars and now facing the challenges of growth and density. No story of modern San Diego is complete without Tijuana. The cross-border region is among the most dynamic in the world, with more than 90,000 crossings daily at the San Ysidro port of entry alone, making it the busiest land border crossing in the Western Hemisphere. The twin ports at San Ysidro and Otay Mesa support industries that span both sides of the border. For many families, the border is part of daily life, linking San Diego and Tijuana into a unique, shared metropolitan region. Redevelopment continues to redraw the map. East Village, once neglected, now boasts luxury apartments, restaurants, and breweries, while Mission Valley has become a canvas for new stadiums, mixed-use projects, and housing, including the redevelopment around SDSU's Mission Valley and Snapdragon Stadium. Kearny Mesa and Mira Mesa, once typified by strip malls and subdivisions, are evolving into corridors for tech and life sciences companies, helping solidify San Diego's reputation as a hub of innovation. These changes bring jobs and investments, but also spark debate over identity and affordability. Across San Diego, new housing density policies and infill development are reshaping neighborhoods with taller buildings and mixed-use projects, fueling vital debates over the city's future. Today's San Diego is a city in flux, its map constantly being rewritten by migration, technology, and the forces of nature. The question now isn't whether the map will change, but how, and who will leave their mark on the next layer of the city. If you enjoyed this journey, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more stories about Southern California and beyond. Thanks for spending this time with me. I appreciate you and hope it inspires you to see the map of your own city with a fresh perspective. To keep the journey going, click right here, and I'll see you in the next video.